All right, folks, we are live. We did it. We hit 200K subscribers. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has been with us on this journey. The channel was officially created November 2016. We took some time off in 2019. Obviously COVID happened. The channel was demonetized for reasons that myself, staff, and lawyers still don't understand why that happened for a year and a half. But we got remonetized, and here we are. 200,000 subs. Yeah. Thanks, Don. We made it. The first video upload on this channel was Matt Dillahunty versus Richard, or I shouldn't say verse. This one was Matt Dillahunty and Richard Dawkins sharing the stage for the first time in Vancouver, Canada, at the Chan Center for the Performing Arts, to a sold-out crowd. I really thought that Matt Dillahunty, and I still think this, that he really has a good way of teaching critical thinking and the right way of thinking about claims and basically addressing issues that touch logic, and that's pretty much everything. And I thought that he deserved a much bigger audience, a bigger stage, and I thought a great start for Matt on the big stage with the big public intellectuals would be just to put him on stage with Richard Dawkins, and that's what we did in 2016, and then we put them on stage again together in 2017. And it's funny how things change. I mean, Matt has publicly basically denounced Richard and thinks that Richard is, I guess, essentially, not worth anyone's time because of Richard's out-of-date view on gender and trans issues and things like that. I think it's a bad idea to be throwing each other away when we disagree, but it's important that we challenge each other publicly on those ideas. Speaking of Matt, I've been in conversations with Matt recently. He's got some things he's taking care of in his personal life, but he's going to be ready and primed and for the Pangburn stage again this year, which I'm really excited for. I have a few theists lined up that would really like to take a piece out of Matt. I think it's been long enough. We haven't had Matt on the stage since 2020, right before COVID. And I'm looking forward to seeing Matt on the stage again. Alex O'Connor has a bunch of offers in front of him. He's been very busy lately. We luckily had Alex on the stage in New York with Dinesh D'Souza recently, which I think was a fantastic, electrifying, exciting discussion. And I'm also in talks with some new people right now. And of course, I know that there's been a lot of rumors circulating, and I've been getting a lot of messages about this, but we are, Destiny Stephen Bonnell II is going to be making his Pangburn stage debut this year. And we got some epic shows lined up for him. And I will tell you guys right now that we are close to having a live discussion with him and Anna Kasparian settled and signed and ready to go. There have been some things happening that have forced some delays on that deal, but it is close to being done. But there's also a new show model that I've created that I think is going to be really, really cool for attendees and people who like to come out to public debates. that involves Destiny, Stephen Bonnell. So keep an eye open for that. We are going to be making some announcements very soon here about some upcoming events. I've also been speaking to some other YouTubers who have very large channels. We're talking, into the 5 to 10 million size. About, I want to popularize good faith, helpful discourse, but also, which are the governing communication rules and are, the grounding for communication as a virtue, the way I see it. But also promoting critical thinking to much larger and younger audiences. So I've been in talks with some very large YouTube channels about sitting down and having some events of their showing their own discovery and their own learning happening, right before the audience's eyes, and start integrating these very popular YouTubers and YouTube channels. I'm talking the tens of millions subscribers and things like this, with public intellectuals. So yeah, Jordan, as far as Jordan Peterson's concerned, he is apparently exclusive with Live Nation for the time being. For those of you who don't know, Live Nation is the big dog in the live event promotion world. They're the ones that work with all the big music artists. But apparently Jordan's, exclusive with Live Nation. So until that squares up, he won't be having any more events on our stage. So who knows when or if that ever will open up. But I have offered Jordan on multiple occasions, being an annoying bug in his ear, round 2 with Matt Dillahunty, which he has refused both times. That's fine. But we will be getting Dillahunty on stage with some other exciting people. There are some big names out there in the theist world that Dillahunty still hasn't shared a stage with, or even a conversation. And Frank Turek is one of them. So yeah. Everyone in the room right now, we're just kind of having a celebration stream here. I'm just giving a bit of an update. We just hit 200,000 subs today, and I'm really, really excited about that. Considering, in 2021, YouTube demonetized us for reasons we still don't understand why. And after investigation, we had to threaten lawsuits, and finally, with the help of my lawyer and, myself, doing anything I could do to help, we got the monetization back on the channel, which was a huge deal. There's 40 of you in the room right now. If you guys could just smash that like button on the video, it really helps the video out. And guys, please share your ideas in this stream today. I'm going to be reading this stream back. If you want to see this person versus this person on the Pangburn stage, or this group of people have a conversation, this is the time. This is the stream to share it in the YouTube chat here. I am going to also be putting out a video. One thing I wanted to let you guys know is as part of this, post 200K subscribers, I am going to be putting out some more videos of my own philosophical analysis of other people's work and analyzing public intellectuals through the lens of the 6 Pangburn virtues and maxims. So you're going to be hearing a bit more from me. So the regular schedule is probably going to be our normal daily study videos, which are the ones I hit you guys with once or twice a day, which typically start great conversations. These would be clips from past events. And then in the afternoon, I would hit you guys with a shorter video of me doing some kind of analysis. So, and the live event schedule itself is going to pick up substantially. Like I said, we're going to be promoting Stephen Bonnell on the stage. He's kind of my political prize fighter now. That's kind of, and where I have Alex O'Connor as my prize champion fighter in the atheist versus theist realm. He's my number one right now. No knock to Matt Dillahunty, because Matt Dillahunty's fantastic, but I think Alex O'Connor is in that space. And again, when you guys see my analysis videos, you'll see where Alex gets a few more points in my analysis and the way I see the world over Matt Dillahunty. But Matt Dillahunty's still fantastic, and I'm excited to work with him again. So I got, Alex O'Connor with the atheist belt, and then I got Stephen Bonnell, who I think has earned the I guess the Pangburn politician debate belt. So and we're going to be doing a lot of events with Stephen. I'm wondering. I think I'm just gonna throw this out there that some of the events you're going to be seeing are events where anyone from around the world can buy an event ticket and be guaranteed a one-on-one debate opportunity with Stephen, with Destiny. So this is going to be a big opportunity for YouTubers who are just, starting out. They're going to be able to step up to the mic and promote their YouTube channel, and or for people in the general public who want to debate Destiny on a topic are going to get that opportunity. So these are going to be events that people can attend, but you can also buy a debate ticket for it, where you actually get an opportunity to stand at the mic, or even in some venues sit down across from Destiny and have a debate. And of course, the Pangburn communication rules of good faith and helpfulness will apply on the stage. So that'll be something that I will help govern, or whoever else is there. Yeah, exactly. The trans position says buy a date with Destiny. Yeah, exactly. A date with Destiny. Yeah, smash that like button, folks. Thank you. And if anyone in the room here on Discord wants to share a memory or something to do with the Pangburn community, how you came to this community, what your favorite events were, maybe a dark horse event or clip or something that you remember that is rarely talked about. One event I'll throw out there that a lot of people haven't seen is an event that we produced. It's David Silverman. For those of you who remember David, he was the president of American Atheists, but he had a debate with Alex McFarlane, who's a preacher, and that event exists on our channel, and I think that's actually quite an entertaining event. But that one's kind of one that a lot of people haven't seen, but I highly suggest checking out that event. And my younger brother actually moderates that event, so you can take a look at my younger brother and see what you think. Dawn, how did you come to the Pangburn community? How did you find this place?
So I spent a lot of time at home, and a lot of that time I spent on YouTube, and I was looking for something different, and I came across a Pangburn live stream, and you had put in the top the link to the Discord, and I was like, well, this is interesting. I could actually join in on the conversation. So I clicked the link, and I created a Discord chat just for Pangburn, and I found a lot of great people here and a lot of engaging conversations, some really good friends that I've made over the last couple of months that I've been here. And it's just one of my favorite places to go in the evening time to talk about just about any subject you can think of. And we've got people here who think like me. We've got people here who think quite the opposite of me. And we find a place here to talk about our ideas in a respectful and helpful tone. And it's just something that I would really like to see grow. And I'd like to say congratulations on 200,000 on YouTube. And here's to 200,000 more.
Hell yeah. Cheers. I am drinking from a glass jar of water. I'm drinking some water from a big glass jar. So cheers. Cheers.
It's very classy.
Day class A. That's cool, Don. Yeah, a lot of people have come here through our live streams, and of course, lots from the our big promotion, the 4-part Jordan Peterson Sam Harris series. That was a big one. A lot of people came here and came to know of Pangburn through those events. Yeah. Casey, you said Lex Friedman. Yeah, I've been thinking about how it would be great to get Lex out of that podcast host mode that he's always in on his show, and put him in a more put him on someone else's stage, doing something else. I would really like to see him out of that element. So yeah, thanks for the ping on that. That's been something I was thinking about. And yes, this is a full jar of moonshine. Exactly. Let's get demonetized again. Can you imagine if that happened again? Oh man, that would make me puke. If I woke up, you guys don't know how sick it made me to wake up to the channel being demonetized. It was awful. And it took, it took a year and a half to fight to get it back. It was just brutal. So yeah, there was something else. Do I still? Okay, yeah, I'm still alive. Oh, that was weird. Yeah, and if anyone's here on the stream, if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed. It's that classic thing with YouTube, like whatever it is, like 75% of our daily viewers aren't subscribed. It's crazy. We have a really high count in that, but it is it is a normal thing for that to be. Thanks, old Joe. For a lot of your daily viewers not to be subscribed, but I try to encourage everyone to hit that subscriber button. Although subscribers don't really mean that much on YouTube anymore in the algorithm, from what I've noticed, it really is just about competing with what's trending in whatever given category. There's small trends and big trends. It really is more about obviously people have to click, obviously, and that's going to have to do with your titling and your thumbnail. But it really is a game of, having over 50% viewer retention on your videos. You gotta have that. And then once you have that, then you're competing for the most watch time. So, that's really how the YouTube game is played right now. And I'm always happy to give like anything I've learned about being a YouTuber, being on YouTube, producing content for YouTube. If anyone ever has any questions, it's a lot of fun, and every little detail does matter, like right down to the color and tone of one of the letters or the feature element out of your 3 elements in your thumbnail. It's a No Edit says, they said it's all about shorts, so I uploaded a video of my wiener. Nice one. How short? Everyone's wondering. I also need to say, like, that in no way is this growth, in no way should it be attributed just to me. We have so many people that volunteer countless amounts of hours to help enrich the community and help, influence greatly my decisions and help me grow as a thinker and as a content creator by just having conversations with me all the time and actually contributing a lot. People like Thomas Panter, Don Prager, Scott Lassiter, we got KC in the room here. These are people who have, contributed so much to this, to helping grow this community and making our community hangout here on Discord a place that people really want to come to and be at and help build. So it's in no way is this a solo effort. And that's also true for all of the amazing speakers and intellectuals that we've worked with over the years. It's such a privilege to be able to even be involved in any way with a lot of these influential authors and thinkers, like Sam Harris, and I gotta give, although Jordan and I ideologically we disagree on a lot, there's a reason why I want to hear from Jordan Peterson in the Pangburn Universe. Although there's a lot of counter ideas there, I do think he's a very interesting man and interesting thinker. And my hero James Randi, I was so lucky to be able to I miss James Randi a lot. He was so supportive of me when James was still around, and he did the event with Matt Dillahunty, which Matt has said is one of his, it's James Randi is one of his biggest heroes, and Matt got to share the stage with him on the Pangburn stage. And if you haven't seen that event, it's a fantastic event. I got to, when I brought James to Vancouver, I took him to Science World, and him and I hung out at Science World for a couple hours. For those of you who don't know, you can look it up. But Science World in Vancouver is kind of like what you would guess. It's like there's all of these like, and it's like all of these different mechanisms and machines to show you how gravity works, to show you how chemistry works, how the laws of motion work, all of these different things, and a lot of information showing you different, the difference between ultraviolet light and different levels of light on the spectrum, and it's got all of these different interesting things. And I took James Randi to Science World, and that was really cool. I remember I ordered we took a break at one point, and I ordered us a couple. I asked him what he wanted, and he said, "Oh, I would just love a chocolate milkshake." And I remember I ordered 2 medium chocolate milkshake. And he said, I don't have much time left on this planet. Better make it an extra large. So we both sat down and had these extra large chocolate milkshakes. Thanks, Robin. And and just sitting there talking to him, and we were sitting out looking out on the Fraser River in Vancouver. Just talking about ideas, talking about Richard Dawkins, talking about God as a concept, and talking about his heart transplant that he had done. he told me a really, really cool story that the anesthesiologist that was with him when he was getting his surgery done said that, they're like, Mr. Randi, they said amazing. They call him amazing because a lot of people called him amazing because he's the amazing Randi. He said that as he was laying down and getting ready, he said, Miss Amazing, I'm a huge fan of yours, and I'm a huge fan of magic. And James was like, oh, that's great. And James signed a little thing for him. And the last thing James remembered, and he said, he looked at the anesthesiologist, looked at him and said, you want to see a really cool magic trick? And that he was like, James was like, yeah, sure. And then what James remembered after that was like these two snaps, like snap, surprise. And it was the anesthesiologist, and the surgery had already been complete. So it was like James had went from that position of being awake, getting ready for his surgery, and then boom, surprise, surgery's done. And that was the experience. Also really cool, going out. This is how magicians are, especially like James Randi, the king, right? He is the king. He is Elvis of magicians, as far as I'm concerned. But he, we went out to a restaurant, and he had somehow, and I still think about this to this day, but this waitress had, he had done a card trick for me up in the room, and somehow this card that went missing showed up in the back pocket of the waitress at the restaurant. Obviously she had to get the card. She was in on it, or her boss was in on it. Someone who could get something in her pants was in on it, because I saw with my own eyes, she pulled the card from out the back of her pants. So whether he gave it to her when we got there or whatever, but I was watching him because I knew he was gonna play something on me. And then he was doing the classic, like, I thought he had the salt and pepper shaker under his napkin on the table, and then he pushed down on it and there's nothing there. Like he was doing magic tricks all night. There's a few clips on the YouTube channel going way back of James Randi and Matt hanging out doing some magic in the hotel room in Vancouver. Somewhere deep in our video selection, way back near the start. So yeah, there's just some memories. I also remember picking up, because I think at that point, did I pick up James I did. I picked up James from the airport in my car, and I was waiting for him, and I saw him coming, and I saw a kid say something to him while he was coming towards the luggage pickup, and of course he's in his cane, and the kid said something to him I saw in the distance, and he did this like pose and made a face at the kid, and the kid like started laughing, and the mom took the kid, and then I said hi to him. I introduced myself and everything, and he was like, yeah. And I got his bag, and I said, whoa, what did the kid say to you? And he said, look, Mom, a wizard. And if you look at James Randi near the end of his life, there's no man that's ever looked like a real bona fide wizard than James Randi. So the kid was like, look, Mom, a wizard. And then he like looked at him like a wizard might look at a kid. And that was a pretty funny, hilarious story. But yeah, James Randi was the real deal. He was, if you look at James Randi's videos from the 70s and 80s, he was debunking theists and woo-woo charlatans way before you know, Richard Dawkins and some of these other people came on the scene to start doing this. Like, he is really a pioneer, a founder of, you know, doing this at a time where it was much more difficult to do, you know, much more frowned upon than it is today. So James Randi deserves all the credit in the world for being, you know, a huge voice for science and reason, even though he wasn't a scientist. But man, he was a warrior for reason, like no other, which is what I call Matt Dillahunty now, the warrior for reason. But yeah, James Randi was the real deal, and I miss Randi, and he was very kind to me and giving me you know, advice and pointers, and coming on my podcast a couple times, and yeah, he was fantastic. But yeah, look up James Randi from the old days when he was debunking, like, you know, like, what's his name, the televangelist. Fuck, does anyone in the room remember the televangelist name? What the hell is his name again? So someone in the chat will remember it. It escapes me at this moment, but yeah, and you know,
Pat Robertson back then, maybe.
What's that?
Pat Robertson back then, maybe.
Like all these guys were afraid of James Randi, but I'm trying to think of, it was fucking the big televangelist, James Randi debunks Peter Popoff. Yeah, Peter Popoff. Yeah. So Peter Popoff, for those of you who don't know, James Randi went into Peter Popoff's like televangelist show, and he brought in a device where he was able to pick up the radio transmission of his earpiece, of Peter Popoff's earpiece, with his wife, who was at a different location, feeding him information, and he's acting as though he's getting it from God, but he's actually getting it from his wife. And she was like going out into the audience and talking to people and learning stuff about them, and then giving Peter Popoff that information. And of course, the Bible believing, very vulnerable people in the audience were like, "Oh, Peter Popoff must have a line to God because he knows this information about me." But he went in there and he just used technology to debunk and show the world that Peter Popoff was a complete fraud. And you know, and this stuff is so valuable. Like there's you know, people will throw their entire life savings, you know, their entire you know, their children's inheritance towards these fucking guys. And James Randi did a lot of debunking and you know, pulled the mask off, showed the wizard behind the controls for a lot of these people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are some special memories, Travis. Thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah, thanks. I have a lot of them over the years. I mean, we're getting close to our 10-year anniversary. I guess it'll be 10 years. You know, we started in November of 2016, so it was the end of 2016, but 2016 nonetheless. Yeah. So Steve Pinker and I have been talking. Thanks, Cassie, or Casey. Yeah, we've been talking. He's actually agreed to share the stage with Stephen Bonnell under certain conditions. So we're going to talk about that a little more. We have an event on our channel. It was Stephen Pinker and Michael Shermer. If you guys haven't heard that discussion, it's a pretty good discussion. It's mostly Stephen Pinker and his ideas. It's great, and I think Stephen's great. Robert Solpolsky, definitely. He is someone who I've wanted to get on the stage as well. There's so many people out there. I do want to I'm trying to put out events that aren't too technical. We just did the event between Stephen Hicks and Lawrence Krauss. Those kinds of events probably won't be super popular, but for people who are, have a bit of expertise in philosophy and in physics and things like that, I think we'll find those kinds of events interesting. But they're a bit thick. The material's a bit thick for the average viewer, the general viewer, which is fine. I do like to have a mix of that. Like if people want to do a deeper philosophical dive, Stephen Hicks is a great guy. He's a great guy to learn from, right? He's a tenured professor of philosophy, and he's created some great works, and I would put him against any philosopher when it comes to matters of ethics and the history of philosophy. He's very good on. Those events are a bit of a nerd fest. I can't say enough about Alex O'Connor, how impressed I am by Alex as a person and as an intellectual. I think he is brilliant, and I mean, he's at the top of the food chain as far as I'm concerned, and he's only 25. Imagine what Alex is going to be like when he's 45. The books he will write, man. I'm excited for that. It's nice for him to it's nice for him to be able to bridge that gap between the general the general public who are on YouTube, who might have some interest in some of the things he's talking about, and academia, because he's an academic, but he's also very accessible. So it's great to have someone with that kind of knowledge and expertise, but has, become one of the best communicators I've ever seen on these issues, related to God, related to the Bible, related to logic, related to argumentation. Basically anything he touches philosophically, I think is gold. So I really look forward to everything he does. And I'm excited to get him back on our stage as soon as possible. I know everyone wants Alex right now, so I just have to be patient and get in line. But I'm very happy that we got the Dinesh D'Souza and O'Connor event. That was a lot of fun, and good on Dinesh for staying in there for all 10 rounds. That was no easy task. The kids these days, man, they know a lot. I'm sure Dinesh had one of those moments on the way home. Maybe. I see you guys are dropping a lot of suggestions for people you'd like to see. Yeah, rest in peace to Daniel Dennett for sure. Daniel Dennett and I had spoken on multiple occasions about getting him involved. Scheduling never worked out. And then I remember one time him saying that he likes to avoid anything too public whenever he can, unless there's some kind of element of that just is too impossible to ignore. If Daniel Dennett had an opportunity to, sit on stage with Jesus, of course he's gonna bite the bullet when Daniel was still around and sit on stage with Jesus. But it seemed like he seemed like a guy there are some people who I've worked with throughout the years and spoken with and had time with that are just wisdom just pours off them, the way they carry themselves, the way they speak. And that reminds me of Noam Chomsky as well. Noam Chomsky has been very generous with his interactions with myself as well in the past few years, and he came on the podcast, and he really wanted to get out on the Pangburn stage, but with his health and where he's at in the final stages of his life, that's proved to be impossible, I think, at this point. But he big appreciation. He's just another, when we're talking about deep wisdom, he's someone that pops into my mind. And again, like, Noam Chomsky and I don't agree on everything, of course, but we should be able to find wisdom in those that we disagree with as well. Too many people are so polarized that if they hear if they make the right kinds of sounds out of their mouth, they become demonized through that person's lens. And this is why I talk a lot about why it's important, where philosophical lensing or worldview lensing, it's important to be able to view issues and people and what people are saying, and try to interpret people's experiences through different lenses. Don't just get stuck in your own one lens. But we're going to be, I have had my first book, basically completed for a couple of years now, but I keep updating, editing. There was a point where I was like, oh, I got to rush to get this out. Like, just, stupidly, thinking that, but I'm just taking my time on it, and waiting for the right time where I feel like I have articulated the 6 Pangburn virtues and maxims in a way that I'm fully satisfied with, and fully being the key here is that spectrum, that seems to be on a spectrum day to day, and things change as I learn more. So I'm not going to rush it, but yeah, the first book is coming, and I just I try to learn so much every day and read as much as I can. And I always learn something from our live discussions that we do. And I get to sit every day with Thomas Panter. A lot of you will know who Thomas is if you've watched our live streams, but he's a genuine, bona fide, wise genius that I get to sit with every day and bounce ideas off of. And a lot of the time we're speaking gibberish to each other and just in this constant state of play. And it's very good for my mind. And I think he reaps the benefits of that as well. But it's, Thomas has been a big partner in crime for, being there for me and being a support person as well as, I worked through the many trials and tribulations of being a CEO and running this business in the multiple different ways that, the multiple different things that I'm trying to do, whether it's publishing books, creating books, creating new content, booking new events, yeah, there's a lot going on, and obviously we have social media channels. Oh, and I have to give a nod to my amazing assistant Felicia. Felicia's been on as my assistant for a couple of years now, and she's been like fantastic, and couldn't do any of this without her great help. And she's taken it upon herself to become an expert in a lot of the things that we do online, to make sure that we're really using our time correctly when we're posting and all this kind of stuff. She's great. Don, how did you first come to Pangburn? I don't know.
First time that I came to Pangburn, that was, I remember I was watching you some guy from West Virginia, Caleb, I believe, Michaela, and a bunch of other people talking about race. And I felt like I had to jump in and just join the conversation. And since then, I've been stuck here.
Yeah. Yeah, you have. And you've been on the Pangburn stage, digitally and in person.
True.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's about time. I don't know what everyone else in the room here thinks, but I think it's about time there is that Don Prager was on one of these posters as a headliner at one of these events.
Oh, maybe at one point.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Again, gotta get my own YouTube channel popping up, but been swamped with things, and it's been difficult to get that rolling.
Well, I'm gonna have Stephen Bonnell on tour. We gotta think of something you guys could debate.
That'd be interesting.
He's down in Florida, so you're you're not that far away.
No, I'm not that far away from Florida. Both East Coast. Shouldn't be too difficult.
Yeah. What's your favorite live discussion we've ever produced? If you had to pick
it has to be a Sam Harris and Peterson.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite 1, 2, 3, or 4, or just the whole series?
Generally, the whole series, because I originally used to follow Sam Harris's podcast, and they had Jordan Peterson on, and that was like if anyone remembers from that time, that was a real clusterfuck of a conversation.
Yes. And
you putting them on stage with different moderators, I think was really able to highlight who I believe was more intellectually sound, rigorous, and pragmatic. And that was this was an invaluable discussion between the two. My second favorite one would be Dillahunty and Peterson. So, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's hard for me. It's really hard for me not to fully agree with you. There is something about Dillahunty Peterson that captures my heart in a different way. I do, and this might be arrogant, and I'm some kind of piece of shit for saying this, but I think it's the greatest God debate of all time. Dillahunty Peterson, and I don't know why I think that. It's maybe because I was sitting at the edge of the stage for it, and I was literally like, I couldn't sit still in my seat because I was so amped up listening to it. But when I say that, I think about the impact and the whole story of Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, the two failed podcasts together that were just dog shit, and
garbage,
working up towards this, like, Sam and I on the phone, talking about Jordan Peterson and how he was growing and how he was exploding, not just growing, exploding his audience. This was like, everyone has to realize that when I first caught wind of Jordan Peterson, like, I had seen some of his videos on the internet through the years on YouTube. I know I'd seen his Harvard lectures. I didn't put the name to the face yet. But I was producing an event. So Sam Harris and I had a conversation about this. And then I had a conversation with Matt Dillahunty to ask him if he's ever heard of this guy or what's going on with this guy. And Matt said that people are telling him that this is some crazy new age Christian guru type person, but maybe there's more to him than that. Funnily enough, if we now that I'm thinking of that, now that we see Jordan Peterson today, that's kind of what he is.
Pretty apt. Pretty apt.
But I remember I remember Dillahunty saying that, and I'm like, well, I'm sure there's more to the man than that. But it was funny because I was promoting an event in Vancouver, and this was before the Sam Harris Richard Dawkins and Matt Dillahunty event in Vancouver, which is my most successful event ever. Actually, that event financially for the company, that one. Well, that one, and we did a pre-event with Tracy Harris from the Atheist Experience, Matt and Sarah Hayter at a smaller theater the day before that event, and when we were there. I had shown up just before the event because there was a lot of things many things happening at that time. And I walked backstage and I was hanging out with Matt, and I looked over, or no, Matt pointed over. He said, "Hey, look who's here tonight as well." And I looked over, and there was on one of the dressing room doors, it said Jordan Peterson. So this was his dressing room, and I found out from someone who works at the venue that Jordan was doing a lecture for about 100 students in a little tiny black box theater just next door, where the big event happening for that day was Dillahunty with these people on stage at the Chan Center. And so
it's actually so ironic.
Yeah. So at that point, and that's funny that those guys, I've never really thought about that, but it's funny that those guys were in the building at the same time. And doing the same event, and they would later face off on stage for what I'm calling the greatest God debate in history. But so at that point, Jordan hadn't blown up and become popular yet, but in a big way, like he was starting, but he was only pulling like 100 people, to come hear him do a lecture. So he went from there seemingly overnight to an international sensation when he came out against Bill C-16 and all of this stuff was happening, and he was garnering, all this support and attention from very famous people who saw Bill C-16 kind of the way that he saw it, which I think was the incorrect way. But yeah,
he's got a little bit of Jordan Peterson, like in an academic sense, he has sort of like a sexy area of study. Like I just think there's always a conversation at least to be had around like Jung and whatever, and like archetypes and all that kind of stuff. It's very accessible, and it's also sort of like exotic in that sense.
Yeah. Thanks, Nate. I really highly suggest people to sink their teeth into Jordan's Harvard lectures on Jung and psychology from back in the day. They exist. I think they exist on his channel actually on YouTube. They're fantastic, and they're engaging in it, and it really shows. When you have someone who is that tied into their work that they bleed their work. Jordan Peterson bleeds his work, no question about that in my mind. And he's a bleeding heart on the stage when you see him. You talk about whatever he's talking about, but in those lectures, you see that. And I would say that he was probably at his intellectual peak at that time during those lectures. But
yeah, I have a nickname for him now, Pastor Peterson.
Yeah, now he's kind of Pastor Peterson, right? Which is he might not like me saying that, but I'm sure he would understand why I say that. But whatever.
Yeah, sorry, I got here late. Have any of you guys checked out whatever he's got I think it's Ben Shapiro's network. He's got like the Gospels or something.
Yeah,
he's
been doing that for a while.
Yeah, he's been doing that for a while, but yeah, we're not. I don't want to really go down that rabbit hole too much. But anyways, so to continue the story, it was like Jordan Peterson was kind of at that stage. He had already done a couple podcasts with Sam. Major failures because they couldn't get over this idea of metaphorical truth or agree what's true anyways. And Jordan Peterson was actually, in a sense, accurately representing in those conversations the domain, the philosophical domain of truth, and how it is not just correspondent. That correspondence criteria is not the only criteria of truth in the game of truth making within the purview of the human experience. There's a lot going on there, And it's not that Sam is ignorant to that, but what Sam's point always was with Jordan in these conversations, from the first podcast they had to the end of the Pangburn discussions, and I would say even beyond that, is just this idea that Jordan is not clear enough when he is moving from correspondence criteria of truth into coherence criteria, or tradition criteria, or emotion criteria, or these other criteria that people use to when they're truth making. So it's, and you see a lot of this. This is a lot of the hang up, when it's like, is it true that Jesus rose from the dead? It would take me 40 hours to answer that question. Like, this is the kind of thing that they got really hung up on. But around that time that Matt and Jordan happened to be in the same building on the same night, that was around the time that I started thinking that I got to get him on stage with Matt at some point. It would be fun. And then Sam and I started having, we had a few long conversations about what this could be, with how Jordan was growing, how things were going, and some of the things he was saying on different podcasts about God and whatnot. And, Sam very wisely thought that Jordan is, I remember Sam saying like that I think these would be, with how Jordan's trending right now, these would be very, very popular discussions. And to begin with, I booked one, when I booked Jordan for the first night, when I booked Jordan for Matt Dillahunty, that was done through just a random speaker bureau that brokered that deal, because I didn't have a direct contact yet with Jordan. And let's just say the difference between what Jordan Peterson made financially, like as his fee for that event, versus what he made like a few months later after he had really blown up in the world, night and day, many zeros different. So anyways, at that time I got him booked with Matt and with Sam Harris for the first night. That was all locked in. And then a new agent came into the picture, and dealings with Jordan became much more difficult. And it's as far like from a business standpoint, the demand was much higher. So, and then we booked the second event, sold both of those events out, and the one with Matt, of course, sold out. And then I said to everyone that I think we need to bring this overseas at least. One of the reasons I wanted to go to Dublin is because it was some kind of crazy thing where Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life was the best-selling book. Like, I think it was the best-selling intellectual book of all time in Dublin. And I was like, okay, we should go to Dublin. And then I figured, while we're over in Dublin, I had done some very successful events in London as well. And I was like, well, we should do London too. And then I started thinking, I was like, am I crazy, or can we go into can we take this into these big concert venues? And so I started looking at it and looking at what if this was even feasible. And I brought it to everyone, and I said, yeah, I think we can do 3 Arena. And it was 3 Arena in Dublin. And what is the big one? The O2 Arena in London, where it was like Katy Perry, Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, Douglas Murray, and Justin Bieber. Like that was cool to see on all the marquee and signs. And I remember talking to someone at the O2, and they're like, there's been big religious events here before, but they couldn't recall anything like this there ever. And I thought that was that was pretty cool. But we sold out 3 Arena, which was about 9,000 people. And so we sold out there, but we didn't sell out the O2 Arena, but we sold a lot of it. I think it was something around 12,000 people
Travis,
or something
so
like that.
weird question.
Yeah.
Does anyone dress up to come to the events that you put on? Because I've seen like the
Yeah.
Oxford lectures and stuff online.
Yeah, so some people do, some people don't. I would say, and this isn't super serious, a bit tongue in cheek, but you can spot a male Jordan Peterson fan from a mile away because he's got that Jordan Peterson full 3-piece suit on, brown suit, and slicked hair, and we had a joke running at that time with the staff that if that guy's not a Jordan Peterson fan, I'll eat my hat. But yeah, people do dress up, and but not everyone. Despite what a lot of people thought about these events, they thought that it was like a male dominant audience, but it wasn't really the case. I mean, if you look out to the audience, you see a sea of males and females in the audience. I'm not sure we ever did like an audit on how many, because I really don't care.
I saw today.
Yeah,
I've seen more like backlash about some of the gender stuff recently. Sorry, not to interrupt, but I've seen more backlash on the gender stuff like recently. But I didn't think that he was like isolating his audience specifically. I don't know. That's what I was saying.
all right. Yeah.
So I actually wanted to ask this.
Yeah, sure.
When you were platforming Jordan, I was talking to Steven Pinker just recently about this because I know he had Jordan on his show a lot back when he was like rising into prominence. When you've hung out with Jordan backstage, right? Yeah. I feel like the 2018-19 Jordan is just vastly different than the 2024-25 Jordan. Like, he was always not a big fan, for instance, of like the new atheism in all of its respects, but you could tell from back in the day, at least as the vibe I get, that he was like still this kind of secular man of science that was in the kind of secular humanist kind of world.
Yes.
Spoke their language, was in those meetings, published those journals with those same people. And I'm almost wondering if it was I don't know if it was a bit of a grift. Was it working with the Daily Wire more? Was it just getting into the conservative movement more? You can see night and day him just switching out of that, you could say, secular mindset, intellectual secular mindset. Even when disagreeing with Sam, he was still kind of in Sam's world a little bit, to now becoming like what some of you guys were just saying here, Pastor Jordan.
Pastor Peterson. Yeah.
Pastor Peterson.
Yeah, no, Thomas, this is a great question to bring up.
Doesn't the fact that he has the Gospels, he's got the Gospels series, that says it all for me, I think. Yeah.
So I think that Jordan didn't wear his politics on his sleeve in the way that he does now. I think Jordan has probably always had a significant amount of traditional conservative politics under his belt, and the way he felt about the world. But he's in a very being in the universities, you're in a much more liberal environment, and I'm sure he found a lot in common with his colleagues and people he worked with. It's hard to know if Jordan Peterson all of a sudden was influenced into conservative politics, and so I don't think that's the most likely scenario. I think the most likely scenario is that Jordan just started sharing his honest opinions and wearing his politics on his sleeve. One thing I will say is that when I started working with Jordan and started hanging out with him and meeting him and things like this was at a time where Jordan was going through, a lot of I guess one could call it a mental health crisis in his own life, but crisis in a sense of like he could still function and do his work, do his job. And at that point, he was wanting to strike while the iron's hot, because the iron was incredibly hot. And he doesn't, at that point, you never know if it's ever going to be hot like that again. So he's trying to work as much as he can. He was being prescribed things to help him with, what was probably an underlying clinical depression, but with the anxiety and stress of everything that's going on. And he shared this publicly on the Joe Rogan podcast. And I think we talked about it on my podcast with him. But if not, we talked about it a lot, just between us. But at that point, Jordan was, his sympathetic nervous system was on fire, where he was just like a constant stream of thought and firing on all cylinders at that point. Like, Sam and I at dinner with Jordan, you can't get a word in edgewise with Jordan, because he's just on like there's just a constant flow of information coming from him, and ideas, and asking questions, and something like he's just very, very much in that zone at that time. A very, it was a big moment, because he was becoming an international, sensation, internationally known thinker and individual, being invited to all of these different things that he probably never thought would ever happen. And then it starts happening in later stages of life. And then he's about to do these huge events with Sam Harris. And, but I think what I think is the most likely case is that Jordan Peterson, just, it wasn't a priority for him to be sharing his political views publicly in the way that, up until that point where the Bill C-16 thing happened. And then all of a sudden Jordan was like, I'm going to be sharing my opinions, and they came out slower than they come out now. Like now, I mean, at least I haven't looked at his Twitter in a while, but there was a while there on Twitter, he would have 40, 50 political opinions a day, firebrand coming out of his Twitter account, to a point where I thought these might be auto-generated, but one thing I will say is that, Jordan was always like so kind and peaceful to work with, as a professional. And, there was that part you never questioned. Like, you knew that he was going to be there. He was going to be ready to do what was agreed to be done. And even though he was going through some tough things, mental health wise. And, I think that, and it comes, there's an interesting question when it comes to asking questions to people who care about who they, platforming this person or platforming that person. I'll have a conversation, or I'll produce a conversation with anyone having a conversation if I think it's valuable by the standards of the 6 Pangburn virtues and maxims. That's what matters to me. I think having dangerous ideas platformed is a good thing, so long as they are being adequately challenged. That's something I find very helpful. We need to show the public ways of challenging bad ideas, and also recognizing as a fallibilist that we in fact might be the ones with bad ideas. So, putting ourselves on the stage to be challenged is very important as well. I'm glad to have had Jordan Peterson on the Pangburn stage, and I will be glad to have him on the stage anytime in the future to have conversations. But like I said, he's apparently exclusive with Live Nation now, so it'll be interesting to see if he ever frees up from that. But.
Yeah, I gotta say, I keep looking and refreshing my YouTube feed and just seeing the old Pangburn talks from 2017 and 18 and the movement and everything like that. It's very refreshing to kind of see that blow up again, and also you with Alex and Lawrence and everything like that. So it's kind of nice. It's a reminiscence of the past that I see is like very positively blowing up again, because you really house some extremely important conversations with the man, to where there's still in the algorithm of 2025, right? Yeah. Still being shared massively to this day.
Yeah, like we're getting tens of thousands of views on Sam Harris versus Jordan Peterson monthly still. That is, it's getting close to, well, it's going to hit 7 million views this year. And it's still a conversation that people are watching at an average view duration of close to 40 minutes per video. It's a very successful video, that one. And then many people go on to watch the rest as well. But yeah, that 4-part series was very big. And as a producer, I'm always on the lookout, trying to listen to the zeitgeist to see what the next big conversation is going to be.
I think, Trav, this is Brett. One of the things that I really enjoyed from Peterson and Harris debates was the fact that it felt very organic, and it felt much more like a conversation, even though they, obviously at times would disagree on stuff. But I think it was also very indicative when Sam asked Jordan about the literal Jesus question, and Brett just let him go, didn't stop him and try to, there wasn't any protection. It was like, okay, no, this is a question that millions of people would like to hear a response to. And I don't know that his answer was all that great, just because we're talking about the literal, the literal historical fact, not the metaphorical. And I thought Sam's response was really great to it, just because it's like, we're talking about literal history. But I don't want to tangent too much and take up too much time. It was the organic nature was amazing.
Yeah. So on the organic nature, I hate. And that's a bit tongue in cheek. I'm not sure I hate much in this world, but I deeply despise the formalized debate style. It's always bothered me. I've always just wanted to grab, like when Christopher Hitchens is at the podium and then Dinesh D'Souza is at the podium, I just want to grab those guys, put them in comfy chairs beside each other, and just say, please just have a conversation as though we're not here and you guys are, playing a game of chess or having a drink, and discuss these topics, please. That's what the Pangburn stage has been for. And when people talk about like the debate bro world and Stephen Bonnell, which I'm excited to be working with Stephen this year, most of his discussions are just discussions, but they're called debates, right? So when I say I hate debates, I'm not talking about when Destiny sits down with Ben Shapiro and they're going back and forth like that. I love that stuff. But when we're like going to, now Dinesh D'Souza is going to have 20 minutes for a rebuttal. No, please. I don't know what it is about my nervous system, but my nervous system can't take it. I just I want the flow. I want it to be human. There's something inhumane about that process that I don't like. It doesn't mean I would never agree to do it or something. I might begrudgingly be like, oh, okay, well, in order to make this important conversation happen, if these guys need this, and fine. I'm a fallibilist. There are, of course, things that would maximize well-being for myself and those around me that would slip outside my general rule, and I'm always open for that. Good night, Casey. Thanks for stopping by.
That's a great point you make, though, because Organic nature allows for conversation to flourish and continue, and there's the biting back and forth and stuff. That doesn't always happen in a very formal debate. And also, as long as they're both acting in good faith and not trying to put each other down, but actually challenge each other, there it is.
Well, so now, in order for this to be fruitful, and this has always been a rule for the Pangburn stage, this was a rule for Sam Harris, this was a rule for Jordan Peterson, this was a rule for Matt Dillahunty, this was a rule for anyone. They must engage in good faith, helpful discourse. Good faith meaning being sincere with your intentions to have a good conversation, and helpfulness meaning that if your interlocutor is struggling to, and this is one example I use, but if they are struggling to give you the strongest form of their argument, help them give you the strongest form of their argument. Help them in a helpful way. Don't tell them how it could be, actually help. Like the way that, if you have your daughter or your son, and you want to help them get whatever they need, help. Don't act like you're helping. Act as though God exists. No, help them. Help them up. Give them a hand up during the course of the dialectic. So my philosophy on this is that if it's good faith and it's helpful, that these two things are the minimum requirements for fruitful dialectic. And so that whole process of taking this classical debate structure of 20 minutes for rebuttal, and if you're going to push these people together, they need to be able to engage in helpful, good faith conversation, or else it's not going to work. It's just going to be, I've seen versions of this before where it's just people attacking each other. There's no fruit being born here. It might be funny, but I'm interested in I'm interested in multi-layered, juicy fruit being born of these these conversation trees that are created. I don't want one colorful layer of humor and then you bite into it and there's just nothing underneath. It just crumbles in your hand.
That's a good point. I've been getting more into academic subreddits recently, just because since I'm not working right now, my frontal cortex has nothing else to do, right? And plus it's just stuff I'm interested in. But just in terms of I think the sort of, as much as it's a togetherness thing to learn or to go do something or to explore really difficult topics, I think having that sort of space to say true things, say what you believe, steel man an argument, all this stuff, come back to sort of the core concept when you can. But having that space to explore an idea is just, it's so freeing to not have to worry about whatever, getting banned or muted or whatever it is. If you say something that's a little bit incorrect, but the general gist or sort of the questioning motion was correct, that stuff's cool for me. I like it.
Yeah. Good stuff, Nate. And Cassie says this is why having a moderator is tricky. Yes. So you wouldn't believe how much I thought about Brett Weinstein on stage in between Jordan and Sam. And then later Douglas on stage overseas with Jordan and Sam. This was something that I would say everyone agreed in the end on this. I would say I was the one that had to be more convinced of this than anyone. In the end, I think Brett did a decent job. It's hard for a guy like Brett not to want to get in and sink his teeth into the conversation because Brett is not a moderator at heart. He's he's a guy that wants to be there to engage in the discussion. He wants to get into the dialectic. And you saw that a lot with, Brett's views on God are more sympathetic to Jordan Peterson's view than Sam's view. So you saw Brett like jumping in a few times, wanting to take a bite out of Sam, and Sam, took the challenge and engaged, and some people saw that as like, oh, Sam's having to debate two guys, and it's like, well, no, not really. It's kind of, it's open. The idea is that, yeah, Brett is the moderator here, but that he's there to smooth transitions and to keep things cool. But it's also a fireplace conversation environment. So it's all too human for Brett to want to or need to be compelled to step in and, isn't that the opposite of what's true, Sam? Like he just like, you can't help it. And that's just human. We are apes. Let's not forget that. We're going to go ape sometimes. This is why the rules in the Pangburn universe for being banned from this Discord server, for example, are, the idea is like, if this is a repeated offense, it's going to become a problem. And if you, if a judge or an admin comes around and says, stop doing this, and you keep repeating it, then it's just, you're going to get in trouble. But yeah, going ape can be at the most sophisticated intellectual level. It doesn't have to be flinging poo at each other, literally, or punching a wall. There's many different ways to go ape, I think.
Yeah. And the neurodivergent version of that, I think, is just being like narcissistic with ideas. And that's one of the things that I struggled with in like another Discord or whatever. But like, not making an accusation, but I think it's fine to explore like people's own philosophical ideas or theory of everything, or like a ethical, like whatever it is. But like, just, I don't know, like people bogarting the space and people's neurons to work on something that's, it's either not the right time for it. It could just not be the right time, right? This is the right, part of the winter solstice to do this shit, but, or do this stuff. But, it could also just be that it wasn't fleshed out enough, or there's like one missing piece. So it's like, cool, go find the thing that you're missing, and then carry on in like, good faith and all this other stuff. Like once you have that one idea you were missing, then like keep talking about it if you're a social person and stuff like that. Or like, for me, it's like, cool, I appreciate people doing that. I'll pay it forward, but I also like dipping out and kind of getting my own ideas about me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's all good stuff. Yeah, and Brett, of course, was back on the stage for multiple events with Pangburn. He shared the stage with Richard Dawkins, which was a dream come true of his, to do that conversation. The whole like producing these discussions, sometimes it's very difficult. A venue will all of a sudden only allow you to do like an archived style video and recording of the event. That world, man, sometimes you can do your due diligence, and the venue will all of a sudden have things or have things in the fine print where they're going to try and charge you like $10,000 for just filming all of a sudden. And then you have to, and then you negotiate, and you can, they're only going to allow you to film with one camera for archival purposes, and that can be very difficult. But that event in general, I just wish we could have got a better quality video and audio for that event. But it is what it is. It made me not want to go back to the Chicago theater downtown, and we've had some great events in Chicago, sold out events at the Chicago theater. I'm just going through my event list right now. If you haven't seen Brian Greene on the Pangburn stage yet, lots of you are probably familiar with the Richard Dawkins Brian Greene discussion and Sam Harris and Brian Greene in Toronto. shared the stage as well. We also did the big conference down in Australia with Brett, Eric.
Did you say that Dawkins only talked once with Harris in the Pangburn event?
Oh no, Dawkins talked. One, two. I think it's three of. Oh, we did Vancouver, London on the Celebration of Science and Reason tour. No, yeah, two events with Richard and Sam. Yeah. In Vancouver and London. Yes. And then Richard and Carolyn Porco did an event. We had Richard and Brian Green, Richard and Dillahunty twice. So I think 7 or 8 events. Yeah, maybe 8 events with, 8 or 9 events with Dawkins on the Pangburn stage. Which
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah. Sorry. I was just curious because Dawkins is, he was like one of the original guys I liked watching. Also, Hitchens, may he rest in peace. You know, those two guys were always saying stuff that, you know, Hitchens was sometimes a little too aggressive with some of his social political stuff, but I mean, he was such a strong writer and speaker. I love those guys. I still do.
Yeah. Yeah, they're world class. Richard Dawkins is a world class thinker. I just released a video. I encourage you all to watch it, but when Richard gets dialed in to talking about evolutionary biology and life sciences, that's actually our most recent daily clip. What is life? The science of life explained by Richard Dawkins. Watch that clip and just, this is what mastering a magisteria, mastering a topic, a category looks like. Just pure brilliance. So yeah, I mean, I've been so lucky to work with Richard, who's a hero of mine. And on so many different occasions, and you know, he has been just so generous and kind to me throughout the years as well. And
people think he's such a arrogant, strident, you know, very aggressive man, but when you actually spend time with him one-on-one, you start to realize how completely opposite that is. Almost as if he kind of got shoved into the limelight of fame and felt like he was compelled to have to defend certain ideas aggressively. But when you actually get him talking about, you know, a subject like evolutionary biology that he just loves, it's like he's like a child, you know, waking up on Christmas morning. You know, you can just see the glow in his eye. I saw that when he was going over the illustrations of his new book when I was with him in Portland. Yeah. It's just a whole different side of him that nobody's ever really seen before, because they just think of him as, oh, this asshole atheist. Yeah. I think he needs to continue to be that asshole atheist, but there's more to him than just that. You know, he's a human being too, with this mastery that not a lot of people really cognitively kind of step back and really recognize him for.
Yeah, there's more to Richard and also everyone else you see on the internet than you know what meets the eye. And Richard loves humor. He loves good food. He loves to laugh. He one time actually at that Brett and his event in Chicago, we were out at dinner, and he started up a debate with the waitress about whether or not halal meat was humane or not. So Richard is always, you know, no one is too low for Richard or beyond Richard. He is, you know, in a way, he is, like, obviously all of the human elements of Richard are true, but also Richard is also very genuine. So when you do see him on stage having a conversation or on a film having a conversation, that also is genuinely Richard. It's not like the cloth comes off and he's a different person and like he's some kind of asshole or something like Thomas was saying here. No, he's a caring, loving, kind person that has always treated me with respect and kindness and probably more than I was, ever due. And yeah, he will always go down in my books as one of the greatest of all time. And, I think he just did his big farewell tour, final tour. I hope it's not the final. I hope he keeps speaking and I'm sure he will still be doing content. But I know he's getting up there in age, but yeah. I love Richard and everything he has done for the war of ideas and for critical thinking and for science education. I think so. Just to recap, many offers out to Alex O'Connor for his next Pangburn event. Like I said with Alex, everyone wants a piece of him right now. So I just have to be patient and wait my turn. I could have Alex on a stage every single night of the week if he wants it. So it's that's all up to him. But he is, he's very busy with everything he does. But yeah, I want to get Alex out a lot more this year. We're going to be doing a lot with Stephen Bonnell II, Destiny, some cool events where audience members are going to get an opportunity to debate him and engage with him. It'll be cool for anyone who's trying to, build a YouTube channel and wants an opportunity like this. And we might even sponsor some YouTubers to fly them out for the event and shack them up at the Pangburn headquarters. We actually did that at our last event in Colorado. We had a Pangburn headquarters set up, and a bunch of us here on Discord were staying in the same place at a very large Airbnb. It was a lot of fun, and then we took the event in. We had some drinks, and we just celebrated life, and it was great to get together with everyone. It'll be nice. Like the live event market is back. It's finally recovered after COVID. It took a long time. Like the music market recovers fast because everyone loves music, right? Not everyone loves what we do here. It's a very niche market. It's tough enough already to sell tickets to intellectual events. And then with, coming off of COVID, or everyone's catching up on the more popular things. And it's just, it takes a while to recover, but things are back. We had some great events last year. I shared the stage with Lawrence Krauss. I got to tip my hat to Lawrence as well. I'm happy that he was on the Pangburn stage multiple times last year. Him and I had an event. I put him on stage with Nick Pope to have a discussion about the UFO phenomena. We just did Krauss and Hicks in Colorado. I love having Lawrence on the stage, and I'm happy to see that he's getting on other people's stages again and getting lots of invites out there. He's got a new book coming that's very exciting. Him and I have been talking about a global tour, book tour for him. So we're probably going to be hearing a lot from Lawrence Krauss as well. And Lawrence isn't everyone's cup of tea. He rubs people the wrong way. And I'm not gonna get into bad press or anything like that, those issues today. But my opinion of Lawrence Krauss is that he is a stand-up individual. He's a very kind guy. People to me, sometimes people say, they're like, Lawrence Krauss knew Jeffrey Epstein, right? And he was friends with him and stuff like that. And I was like, yes, I know that. Jeff Epstein was giving a lot, he was spending a lot of money on projects, like science projects, and Lawrence Krauss was able to get some of that money to help him fund events and different things that he was doing through his work. And and this thing of like, just because Lawrence Krauss knew and was friends, just like Steven Pinker was friendly with Jeff Epstein, it doesn't mean that they were involved in any of the terrible illegal activity that Jeff Epstein was involved in. There was a lot of
that's what I've been telling people too.
Yeah, there's a lot of public intellectuals who were fucking blindsided by this fucking horrible bad actor and what he was doing, and it's just a real shame when someone who, was giving this level of financial support, when this stuff comes out, it's like, some people were, and I don't want to make this about Jeffrey Epstein. We've heard enough from him, but, the money he gave in support can still do good. Right? This can still be used for good. And it's important not to go on these witch hunts for people who might have spoke favorably, about someone when they didn't have all the details, or all the details weren't available. So, it's we must not demonize people, especially when we have no good evidence to suggest that they are in fact demons. But anyways, I love Lawrence, and I know he's living up in Canada now. He's been fighting the winter. I think he's moving to the West Coast now because he's had enough of the East Coast. They get a lot of snow over there. So, but Lawrence Krauss, and and I hope to get my living hero, Daryl Davis, on the Pangburn stage finally this year. Him and I have been talking about it. He's always busy with music and doing gigs and stuff. And, but he is, one of, if not my true living hero. Daryl Davis, of course, is the black man who dared to go into the belly of the beast, into the KKK circles, and have good faith, helpful conversations with those members to help disenchant them of their bad ideas, mainly regarding how black people are inferior in their eyes. And Daryl Davis has just done magic through good faith, helpful discourse. So he's an icon and a hero of mine. So Daryl Davis is someone else I want to get on the Pangburn stage. Finally, I had him on the podcast, but so there's lots coming. I've been speaking to many different YouTubers as well, with large channels. You're going to be seeing a lot more collaborations and stuff for the next 200,000 subscribers. We are on pace right now to hit 1 million subscribers in 4 years. So if we maintain the growth as we're going right now, that's the pace. But I think we're going to beat that with all of the great new content we're going to be making. Did
you say 300? Did you say 300 or 400?
1 million subscribers in 4 years' time.
Oh shoot!
Yeah. So we're on a really good pace right now. One thing I'll also say for anyone who does see this video, for the price of I think it's $4 or something to become an official channel member on YouTube. If you find what we do at Pangburn valuable, or at least valuable enough to to contribute a cup of coffee per month to Pangburn, that's a great way to do it if you're interested in doing that. It's obviously not mandatory. I'm just so happy that you all have supported this channel and continue to watch these great discussions. So please remember to subscribe. Everyone in the room right now, remember to drop a like on this YouTube channel. 200,000 subscribers is a big milestone for us. I don't get a new cool plaque. You guys see that, the silver plaque here. I don't get the gold plaque until 1 million subscribers, so we got a ways to go. But I do genuinely, truly love you all. I want to maximize well-being for all of you. Never hesitate to reach out. Discord's a great place to reach me. Email travis@pang-burn.com if you want to collaborate, if you want to get on stage with any of the intellectuals I've ever worked with, or if you have an idea for an event, get in touch with me. If you're interested in becoming a producing partner, we have a bunch of different producing partners at Pangburn that help us produce these live intellectual discussions. If you want to get into the game of producing, it's a fun game, a risky game, but sometimes it can work out really well. So yeah, keep all that in mind. Try to be good out there. Please maximize well-being for yourself and those around you. And again, I love you all very much, and thank you for supporting this channel. Let's get to 1 million in 2 years.
That sounds great. We love you too, Travis.
Thanks, brother.